Imagine waking up in the middle of the night, unable to move, your body paralyzed, with a sickeningly sweet odor lingering in the air. Your throat burns, your limbs feel numb, and a sense of dread fills the room. This wasn't a nightmare, it was the terrifying reality for dozens of people in Mattoon, Illinois in 1944. For weeks, a mysterious figure dubbed the Mad Gasser terrorized this small town, spraying an unknown chemical through windows and vanishing without a trace. Was it the work of a disturbed individual, or a case of mass hysteria, or something even more sinister? Join me as we explore the chilling mystery of the Mad Gasser of Mattoon. And if you're a fan of historical mysteries like this, click that subscribe button to keep up with our future releases. The strange events in Mattoon are typically dated to September 1st, 1944, when Aileen Kearney experienced symptoms of gas poisoning. But what many don't realize is that the first recorded case happened the night before on August 31st. A man named Urban Rafe, a local resident, became the Gasser's first known victim. That night, Rafe woke up suddenly, feeling weak and sick. His wife, who had been sleeping beside him, noticed a strange smell in the room, described as being slightly sweet yet nauseating. Moments later, Urban was overcome with dizziness and shortness of breath. Mrs. Rafe opened the windows for fresh air, but the effects lingered. What had caused this sudden illness? At first, they suspected a gas leak, but their stove was off. They couldn't explain it. At the time, no one linked this incident to anything sinister. But just 24 hours later, more victims would emerge. The case that truly launched the panic happened on the night of September 1st, 1944. Aileen Kearney, at home with her daughter, noticed a sweet odor filling the room. Within seconds, her limbs grew numb and she found herself unable to move. She tried to call for help but could barely speak. Her husband, a taxi driver, arrived home to find Aileen partially paralyzed. He noticed a strange figure outside their house, a tall, thin person dressed in dark clothing sprinting away. Police were called, but no footprints or evidence of forced entry were found. At first, authorities dismissed the case as an overreaction. They assumed it was a gas leak or a simple case of illness. But then, more reports started coming in, dozens of them. One of the most unsettling moments in the Mad Gasser mystery occurred on the night of September 5th, 1944. Carl and Belua Cordes had just returned home around 10 p.m. when they noticed something strange, a piece of white cloth lying on their porch near the screen door. It was slightly larger than a man's handkerchief. Curious, Belua picked it up and took a sniff, a decision she would immediately regret. As soon as she inhaled, she was overcome by violent illness. She later described the sensation as similar to an electric shock running through her body. Her face began to swell, her mouth and throat burned, and within moments, she was vomiting uncontrollably. Like other victims, Belua also experienced weakness and partial paralysis in her legs, making it difficult to move. As she struggled to recover, a terrifying thought crossed her mind. Was the cloth left there on purpose? She later theorized that the Mad Gasser had placed it on the porch to incapacitate the family dog, which usually slept outside. If the dog had been knocked out, the prowler could have entered the home undetected. The cloth was the first real piece of physical evidence left behind by the attacker. But even with this chilling clue, police were no closer to catching the Mad Gasser. Was the Mad Gasser a real person or something else entirely? Let's look at the leading theories. The most widely accepted theory is that the Mad Gasser was a real person. Someone with knowledge of chemistry who was deliberately attacking Mattoon's residents. But if true, who was behind it? One of the most controversial suspects is a local man named Farley Llewellyn. A brilliant but reclusive chemist, Llewellyn had studied at the University of Illinois and was known to conduct private experiments in a laboratory in his family home. According to the 2003 book, The Mad Gasser of Mattoon, Dispelling the Hysteria by Scott Maruna, Llewellyn was ostracized by his community, largely due to speculation about his sexual orientation, which in the 1940s made him a target for hostility in small-town America. Some of Llewellyn's former classmates and neighbors even claimed to have heard small explosions coming from his home before the attacks began. Could he have been experimenting with chemical gases and testing them on the people who had rejected him? Supporters of this theory believe he may have been seeking revenge on the town that shunned him. By spraying noxious fumes through open windows, he could instill fear while remaining undetected. However, there was never any direct evidence linking Llewellyn to the attacks, and no physical proof of any chemical devices was found. Llewellyn was never arrested or charged, and after the incidents, he faded from public life. Was he truly the Mad Gasser, or just an unfortunate scapegoat? We may never know. Many historians believe that the Mad Gasser never existed at all. The events took place during World War II when fears of chemical warfare were at an all-time high. Some experts believe that anxiety and paranoia led to people misinterpreting common illnesses or odors, creating a cycle of fear. Believe it or not, Mattoon wasn't the first place to experience mysterious gas attacks. In 1933 and 1934, a similar wave of gas-related incidents occurred in Beaufort County, Virginia. Residents reported being overcome by a strange paralyzing gas, and just like in Mattoon, they described a shadowy figure lurking nearby, possibly with another person. This attacker, known as the Mad Gasser of Virginia, was never caught. Could the same person without their accomplice have struck again in Mattoon 10 years later? Or was this some kind of urban legend that grew over time? By mid-September 1944, the attacks in Mattoon suddenly stopped. No one was ever arrested and no real evidence was ever found. Was it a criminal mastermind, a psychological phenomenon, or something even more sinister? Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. The people of Mattoon never forgot the nights when an unseen terror stalked their streets. So what do you think? Was the Mad Gasser a real-life villain, or was it all in people's heads? Could the same attacker have struck in Virginia years earlier? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this mystery, don't forget to like and subscribe for more strange and unsolved cases. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and never stop seeking the truth. Thank you for watching.